we like to do the monthly economic report here every month. And what I normally do is I also pull up the previous few months. However, because I haven't been able to stream that much, I haven't been able to do the previous few monthly. I don't remember which one was the last one I did. So we have August, July, June, and May in order to reference. We're going to go through this and look at it and see what we can find. I'm doing this mostly blind, and these are just my inputs. I know that there are other people with other opinions about it that are probably maybe even more informed, but this is just kind of what I take out of it. Laughs at ad break one on YouTube Premium. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine. Hey, man, YouTube Premium's awesome. I appreciate it. And the more you watch my videos, the better it is. I appreciate it. All right. So first things first. Like, you know what? I might actually have to go find something else because I want to show it to you guys. But so the very first thing you can see, so if we have March, April, May, June, July, August, so I guess it's that last little bit, we can see that there's this huge uptick in production, destruction, and mining within the last month or so, which is pretty wild given the fact that usually the summer is a time of less activity. Actually, you know what? Hold on. This is Eve Offline. It does an ongoing tranquility thing. Let's look at the 3 months there. So we can see, even look at 6 months. So normally what we would see is we would see a summer slump. But because we were already pretty low at an all-time low prior to Uprising, and because of the success of Uprising and Viridian, we actually see a pretty steady, even time during the summer. Uptick in industry, prelude to another conflict? Possibly. But was there an industry change that happened this month? Or last month? Can't remember now. Anywho, either way, this seems really interesting to me because it basically signifies a huge amount of uptick in activity, because it's also destruction. This isn't just a bunch of people building stuff. You also see this uptick in destruction. So we're just seeing this major uptick in all kinds of activity without a serious uptick in player base, which is, or, peak concurrent user base, which may be an indicator of how worthless the peak concurrent user stat is. Or it may be an indicator that the people that are logging in with less alts and doing more productive things while doing so. What we did get with Viridian is things like home fronts, projects, and all that kind of stuff, which could, I mean, like, it may be optimistic to say that any of that influenced these numbers, but we're going to have to see as we go through. See key summary of key economic figures by region. I don't like this stat very much because it's hard to, like, it's just poorly laid out for this purpose. So destruction of Pochvin, 1.81 trillion. Was it last month? 2.45 trillion. Wasn't that there? So hold on. Yeah. So actually, no, that wouldn't count as destruction. So last month there was a huge Fortizar that blew up in Pochvin, and it dropped a lot of stuff, just a lot of stuff. But the problem is that not much of that was destroyed, so it won't factor in as destruction. We do see kind of this increased destruction in Pochvin during that during the months leading up to this, as Pochvin kind of become, or it looks like, honestly, that Pochvin may have cooled off a little bit in the last month, probably quieting down after that that fight. Although, so it looks like it was at 1.4 and then spiked up to over 2 for 2 months, and then now it's fallen back down to 1.4. I know that there was a whole thing with, like, there has been a lot of shaking up going on in Pochfin. And so I think that there was a pretty big time of aggression during the summer. And after that Fortizar died, it's kind of quieted down a little bit. That's my guess. Asteroid ore mined over time. So what we're seeing here, what I see here is, so it's going up, right? But the blue line and the orange line are staying the same. So, and the wormhole line is pretty much staying the same too. So a lot of this, we've seen in previous months, a lot of gains that were done by HiSec, right? Almost sometimes to the extent of, to the detriment of Null. Like you can see that Null was actually pretty terrible when it was prior to Uprising, but we are seeing it pick back up again. And so, yeah, I think that GM Trails might be right. This might be rebuilding Dread fleets or capital fleets, but it also could be T2 Dreads. This could be the introduction of Siege Dreads, which took a little, or not Siege, Lancer Dreads, which are extremely expensive, therefore have a disproportionate effect on the market for each one sold or built. And they came out with Viridian, and it took about a month to a month and a half for people to really start being able to produce these things. So that could very well be a big explanation for some of these upticks. Asteroid ore by region. We see that Delve is at above 4 billion. Oh, wait, no, shoot, that was last month. My bad. So this month for the asteroid ore by volume, we actually see that it has gone down a little bit more, but it doesn't look like nullsec left it. It looks like it was just a little bit of a dip in HiSec, not even below the standard line. So that's fine. Compared to last month. Delve has increased even more, so it's at 4.5 billion now. Over 4 billion there. Yeah, under 4 billion there. So in May, they were getting just over 3 billion. But ever since then, they've been at over 4 billion. So that right there is probably a fair chunk of that increase in nullsec mining. The goons have gotten back to being industrious little bees. Anything else that we can see from here? The Forge, Lone Trek Metropolis. Lone Trek Metropolis, the Forge. Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, it's all kind of the same stuff. We used to see a lot more switching around in the top. We see Fraternity being very productive, but now the goons have clearly just like locked in their lead again. Gas mined over time. Pretty steady growth. It looks like it was in low sec, especially as June, as Viridian came out. We see more low secking mining stuff. That's a very good opportunity. But now we're seeing an increase in wormhole gas mining. Again, I wonder how much this has to do with Lancer Dreads, because I think capitals also require wormhole gas now. I don't know. Gas mined by region, we have Aridia, Lone Trek the Forge. We used to have Aridia, Lone Trek Curse, Placid. Oh, yeah, we got the wormhole gas mining buff with cloud size increase. That's what it is. So now it's easier to get more when you go out. Or per site that you find, I suppose. Yeah, but I think that maybe people weren't necessarily taking it. I think that people are now taking more advantage of this thing. I am personally, anecdotally, seeing more and more people that are getting into things like low sec mining, wormhole mining as their way of being a little bit more risky but bringing in a lot more profit. Ice mined over time, very steady. I mean, ice is a pretty steady thing. If anything, it's a little bit down in low sec or in high sec. God, how is the low sec ice mined that low? Excuse me. When I think of ice, I think of low sec, and yet it's like basically none of it. It's a rounding error. That's wild. Ice volume by region. We see the Forge. But Metropolis has dropped down a little bit. The Forge is at 3.5. Oh yeah, no, the Forge has just gone up. I wonder if that's indicated. So we don't have a change in the peak concurrent users, but we do have this uptick in the Forge in a lot of different small ways, which implies to me it could very well be that. So like peak concurrent user basically is like that midpoint between EU and US time zones. Like right before there's like a lull, but right before that, around like noonish 2 p.m. most US times, it's still like evening EU time, and so that's like the perfect storm for when we get the peak concurrent user, right? Like if we look at the daily thing, right? Like there's the peak and then there's the trough, and the problem is that it's only recording the peak. So what I've noticed before is that this can cover up the fact that the rest of the day, including basically the entire US time zone, can fluctuate and not be reflected in the PCU. So what I'm seeing here, what I'm guessing here, is that we're seeing actually an increase in new player activity, which we're seeing a pretty steady account creation. Because I'm thinking that like a lot of newer players end up going to Jita and being in the Forge area. I'd like to think that most people eventually figure out to leave the Forge area. If you haven't figured out to leave the... Now, if you're, like, honestly, if you're having any problems with, like, gankers or other ne'er-do-wells and you are in Caldari space and you're worried about getting your ships suicide ganked or whatever, get out of Caldari space. Anywho, Moon Ore, volume mined over time. This actually seems super steady. So it looks like the vast majority of this uptick in mining, and you can even see it here too, across the board, the vast majority of these upticks is nullsec. See that? The red line, see it? So these are proportional, right? So with everything else dipping down, it's because nullsec is taking a bigger piece of the pie. It's not Caldari hate. It's just a simple matter of like social understanding. There are the most people are in Jita and around Jita, which means people that want to prey on other people are going to find that to be the best place to do it, which means you're going to have the most people that are doing that around there. So just like in real life, if you don't want to be messed with by other people, you got to go way off into the boonies. There are definitely other places that are not much better than the Forge, but it's a good start. Do I think it's really new players or just alts being made? Actually, I think that there are a lot of new players coming in, like a lot of new players. The rookie chat is very big, and also returning players. You know, by far my most successful video of all time now is my returning to Eve watch this first video, and we haven't recruited a person into the Convocation of Empyreans pretty much in the last like 5 months that didn't involve, oh yeah, I saw this video, you know, I played a long time ago, but now I want to check it out. and I saw this returning to Eve video, and now I want to join, right? Like, it is there, the amount of people that are coming back and checking things out. Maybe they tried it for like a week before. When I say returning, I don't mean like somebody who was big in 2015. I'm talking about somebody who tried it back in like 2010 for like a couple of weeks, never really got into it, got burned out, or, you know, got washed up. But now, because of the stuff that's going on, are kind of interested in it. And I don't think that this is very surprising, because a lot of the stuff that they've been focusing on is stuff that's interesting for newer players. And so newer players are coming in and actually finding content to do. See, there you go, Nick. Yeah, you gotta love the big city life if you want to live in the Forge. All right. But yeah, going back to the moon ore, I don't see a big uptick in moon ore mine during time, which is weird, because that means that all they're doing is mining raw resources. Was there something that happened to ore with Viridian? Can anybody remember? Was there a change to the asteroid ore in Nullsec with Viridian? Isogen. Oh, AO. Yeah, but that's by volume. You think that AO belts already existed? They just tripled the isogen. I don't see that being the big difference. I don't know how much of this is just like the industrial machines churning back up, and how much of it is some sort of change. But I'll have to talk to some people to find out. No. Moon ore volume by region. Veil of the Silent is the #1 moon ore volume by region. Isn't that's fraternity, right? So last month it was Domain, Delve, Veil. Tripling amount of isogen in the belt does make mining those belts more valuable. Yeah, but it's by volume. It's M3. So it doesn't matter if the ore is more valuable. Except for the fact that if it's more valuable, more people mine it. That's true. Yes, moon ore is not decreasing. Correct. That's true. There's just more people mining, right? Because there's not a dip. You're not compensating for asteroid ore by not mining moon ore. But this is something I find very interesting. So Veil of the Silent was at just over 3 billion, with Delve at 4.5 last month. And now Veil of the Silent is 4.5 and Delve is under 4. So, hey, sorry in advance, 07 to you. Thank you so much for holding down the fort on putting out amazing Eve content over the summer. If you guys haven't checked it out, sorry in advance. Put out a normal show called The Beaver Show. They do it in both English and French for the French Canadian viewers and all that stuff. They are super awesome people. Go check them out. Absolutely. I want to do more stuff with them. Any rate, I do find this interesting that Veil of the Silent went up by about 1 billion, and Delve went down by about 500 million in Moon Ore. Which, let's be honest. Hold on, let's just look real quick. Yeah, Delve's at over 4 billion there, and then at just over 3 billion there. So we're seeing this like up down when it comes to their moons, which leads me to suspect this has more to do with their moon rotation than a waxing and waning interest in moon mining. I suspect that this has something to do with how their scheduling corresponds with how the MARs are processed, more than an actual change in their moon mining operation every single month within the Imperium. Blue loot from Wormhole is a commodity purchased by NPCs only, or is it used in industry? Blue loot is only used as a commodity. In general, most of the time, if we refer to something as a colored loot, it is a commodity to be sold. Some of the time, there are secondary uses. Like, for instance, red loot from Triglavians can be used to buy some of the stuff in the DDLP store, and some of the other there are some other tokens. But usually when we say something is a colored loot, we mean that it's just a token to be sold. All right. Gas volume mined over time. We see this giant drop-off in May in nullsec, and it hasn't fully recovered. Actually, we see a drop-off across the board in gas mined over time. Oh, that's way back. Hold on. That's the beginning of the summer. Let's look at it now. Derp, we already did gas mine. Ha ha ha. I thought it's like we talked about that. All right. We did this one. Okay. Imports and exports by region. The number one last month was Peregrine Falls, with Lone Trek being 7th. This month, it's Lone Trek is number 1. Now, this means number 1 for exports. Imports means assets that are being brought into that region. Exports are assets being brought out of that region. So Lone Trek having a huge export could be as simple as a group moving their stuff, right? But you get that idea. What you would honestly look for is like a corresponding big spike, like probably not the Citadel, because the Citadel always has a lot of stuff. But if we looked around, we could probably find an abnormal spike inward. Maybe Essence? I don't know. Hard to say. But let's see. As far as the export goes, we have the Forge, which is pretty normal, right? Yeah, the Forge is usually the largest exporter. Oh, Peregrine Falls was that month. At least a little bit longer, like another, probably a couple, 2-3 hours, maybe. At least 2. Sinks and faucets. This is where things get interesting. Okay, so the commodity market. Total commodities is 42 trillion. Last month, it was 42 trillion. The month before, it was 56 trillion. So I'll give you a hint. I'm pretty sure the Shadow War was still going on in June. Right? Like there were events going on in June. And I don't know if you noticed, but we haven't really had any events really this month or this year, which I would like to talk about, not during the MER section, but that would explain that. We'll look at the commodity over time chart in a minute, but let's see. Bounties is 33 billion versus 32, so bounties are on the uptick. Yep. And nope, that's not the right one. Yep. So it's up by, about a trillion, half a trillion to a trillion. So that means more people ratting. ESS Autobank payout 17, and it was 16. So we're seeing a corresponding bonus bump in both bounties and ESS. You know what that tells me? This is an increase in ratting, right? So this is, and we saw earlier in the top thing, like most of the economic changes over the last month or two seems to be in nullsec. So this tracks. Let's see. I like to keep track of project discovery. Make sure. Where is it? Holy crap, it fell down. 1 trillion out of project discovery? Wait. Less than a trillion? $1 trillion? Is that normal? Am I just forgetting things? I thought it was like an unusually high amount. Maybe that's still considered an unusually high amount. I thought it was higher up on the list. Either way. Triglavian invasions. 15 trillion. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 13 trillion. 13.7 to 15. So that's also an increase in the Triglavian invasion payouts are usually the people farming Pochvin, because you have to do pro eating calm against Triglavian sites to get that. No, wait, no. If you do stuff for the Triglavians, you also get a payout. So, yeah, that's people running sites in the Triglavian invasions, but probably Pochvin stuff, maybe? I don't know. Sancha incursions, on the other hand, went from 12 to 11. But it's also like the 12, it fluctuates between 11 and 12. Let's see. Do we have... What I want to see is, do we have do we know what the payout for home fronts is called? Who pays out home fronts? Does anybody know off the top of their head? I could look it up. I'm not seeing it, though. Unless that's these House of Records, Ministry of Internal Order stuff. That actually might be it. Is that what that is? Because I don't see... None of that's here. Hold on, let me go look. Wormhole combat encounters with Pochvin wormholes? Yeah, I just don't see that being like the thing that's being farmed more than before, you know? What? Why do I just have a bunch of bounty? Oh, is that just... Oh, right. Never mind. This is me running around and killing a bunch of stuff. Shoot. Is it a corporate reward payment? Yep, there they are. Federal Intelligence Office. Because I'm doing the Gallente ones. So yeah, if you want to keep track of how much Homefronts is making, you have to add up all of these numbers. So 1, 2, it's 3. So we can see, actually, we can also see which Homefronts are most popular. This is actually really interesting. So the Ministry of Internal Order is Amar. House of Records is Kaldari. Federal Intelligence Office is Mimitar, or Gallente, and Republic Security Services is Mimitar. So that's the only one that gets paid out less than FOBs. So that means if you combine them all, we have 1.4 plus 1.9 is 2.3 plus 4.1 is 6.4 trillion, which puts it at about half the amount of money that incursions are putting out right now in all of Homefronts. That's pretty good. I mean, let's see what it was at before. Do we see a big uptick? No, actually, I see it more now than it was before, which is honestly quite good, because if you think about it, in these earlier numbers, these were when people were able to, like, this was the month that people were supposedly cheesing the site, and yet now that the sites are done well, people are actually still making as much, if not more money than before. So the thing is about the way that people cheesed the Homefront sites is that it didn't actually make it much more efficient than just doing it. Turns out that just having a group of people and doing it together makes everybody a bunch of money real fast. But because of the nature of it, it's very difficult to increase the amount of money that it gives you beyond that good amount, right? Because you have to travel between the systems. It doesn't matter if you can knock out the site in 5 minutes or 7 minutes if it takes you like 6 minutes to find the next site, right? Because at that point, you now have a site that's, you know, let's say it takes you 15 minutes between from payout to payout. That's actually pretty not great, but you know, that means that you're getting 4 sites done in an hour. But if you speed that site up by a full minute by cheesing it, so you kill the tower in 1 pass instead of 2 or whatever it is, you can go that extra mile, but what do you really get out of that, right? Like instead of 15 minutes a site, it's now 14 minutes a payout. So you still get basically the same amount. Since the home fronts existed, I feel so bad about doing anything else in high sec. I like doing home fronts, but I also like doing I still like doing missions. And honestly, especially with all this Epiphany stuff and everything building up, I have been running around. I kind of want to show you guys at some point. Probably not today because I'm out of position, but just grabbing a Stormbringer and running around and doing high sec anomalies to get escalations has been both fun and lucrative. All right. Well, that's cool. Commodities over time. So you can see when the events ended, especially the one that drops personal overseers effects. But this miscellaneous, I think, is this big spike of miscellaneous. See this? This is the end of the Shadow War, right? This is everybody turning in their doodads and tokens and whatnot and making it happen. Wasn't there also another event during that time too? It was chaotic. Be careful. Oh yeah. That's true. No. If they, yeah, you gotta be very, very careful. If there's somebody else in grid with me, I will like manually shoot every single shot to make sure that they don't go suspect in between it. I'll like shoot and then like wait a few seconds and be like, you gonna? Plot. Huh? So sorry if this sounds like a dumb question. Is Eve a good game if you just want to fly around and go look for exploration a la No Man's Sky? Thanks again for the noobish question. Sure. There's all kinds of stuff to go look at and try out and all that stuff. And if that's all you ever do, well, I mean, that's your choice. There's a bunch of other stuff for you to do in game. You're going to have a bunch, you know, you're still going to have to learn how to like maneuver and keep yourself safe, especially if you're going to go check out stuff in some of the more dangerous areas. But there's an entire alliance known as Signal Cartel, who are, they get mad at me when I say it this way, but they're not pacifists, but they are non-aggressive. They are not allowed to be the first to attack. They're allowed to defend themselves. But yeah, they're explorers. They're explorers and adventurers, and they have a program where they rescue people out of wormholes and stuff. Like that is absolutely a gameplay style. The last Thunderchild that did PvE in Highsec died to my marker. Oh no. Oh no. Well, now you're a bad person, Raiden. For those of you who don't know, so the reason, what we're talking about here is that the Stormbringer is one of the ships that can hit multiple ships at the same time using chain lightning, right? And the lightning honors your security status, right? Or your security settings. So if you have your security set to green and there's another dude on field with you, like here's a good example. If I launch my drones, which I don't have on a Stormbringer, if I launch my mobile tractor unit, right, in my Stormbringer, and then I start shooting things, the lightning can chain and damage my own mobile tractor unit because it's mine, right? You can shoot your own stuff, no problem, with safety green. However, if a friend is there, the lightning will not chain onto them because that would be a criminal flag, and I have my safeties to green. It also won't chain if they drop an MTU. It won't chain to it because that would give you a suspect flag, and your safety won't allow that. So you should be pretty safe, right? Like if you're in a normal ship and you're in these sites and somebody else is in the site, there's pretty much nothing that they can do to force you to be able to make it so that they can attack you. You have to take the suspect bait or whatever. But here's the problem. A suspect is a valid target for someone, even if their safety status is green. So as soon as they go suspect, your lightning can chain onto them, even if your safety is green. And as soon as it does, it initiates a 5-minute limited engagement timer with that person, and then they kill you. So, all that aside, commodities seem pretty even. I do find it interesting that the bounty encrypted bonds see this big spike. Well, I guess there has been, I mean, it's not that big of a spike. It just kind of started picking up again after being low, I suppose is a better way of putting it. Not a few dudes that way. There are two types of players. People warning him and people like, oh yeah, I did that last week. All right. Yeah, not much to say about the commodities because we haven't had very many events. Iskin faucets over time. Again, so this is what I find really interesting. We're seeing a big increase in production, destruction, and mining, but we aren't seeing nearly as big of an increase in any of the money-making mechanisms of the game. Now, obviously, ore mined won't show up on this list. So people aren't making liquid ISK. They aren't even selling and trading more, as it would seem. It really is people are gathering raw material and turning it into stuff. And yet, even though that's true, even though we have, pretty steady ISK generation, we do see a continued climb in growing wealth, much more on the character level than on the corporate level. HiSec is so insecure. I felt HiSec has the most number of rules that you need to understand in order to make it. And then the velocity of ISK, it has gone down. It's stabilized, and it hasn't gone back up after the initial tick. But again, velocity of ISK is based on trade, and we see that there isn't actually that much additional trade, but there's all these other indications of increased production and manufacturing. So, I wonder how much, wait, the manufacturing, I wonder how much the taxes changes and fee changes on player structures affected people's desire to do industry. Maybe that's the reason why people kicked off a lot more industry recently. We do see a big spike of transaction tests. So there is some people buying and selling, but the broker fee went down, which is kind of weird. All right. Mineral prices are still very high. Everything else is up. Mineral prices are still almost as high as they were at the height of scarcity, which is wild, by the way. but it is kind of evening out at the top level. Consumer price index, we're looking for anything that stands out. Looks pretty normal. Mineral price index. So it looks like the majority of the value change is, so hold on. The top one is low end minerals, the bottom one is high end minerals. So, okay, here we go. Basically, especially during scarcity and whatnot, what we actually saw was this big uptick in the value of low sec commodity, or sorry, low end minerals, titanium and stuff. And you see, more importantly, these high end minerals. Look at all of these hits in its value that it's taken recently without any of these bigger, I mean, like some blue lines. But then in 2020, it starts to get bigger. But then look at 2022. So this is scarcity and post scarcity, and Moongoo really took a big hit, while low end minerals have gone up, and now they're starting to rebalance. So low sec minerals are starting to get big again, as high sec minerals and low end minerals start to go back down. The bottleneck is shifting again. And then primary producers, we see a big fall on raw moon materials, probably because we see an uptick in the amount of, no, we didn't see an uptick in the amount of moon mined. We're just seeing a drop in its value. Yeah, I don't know. What is this? So this has gone up a little bit over the last few months. Salvage materials. So people getting rigs and other such bits. But it's pretty flat. A lot of these are pretty flat. Which one is this? Salvaged materials. Wait, oh yeah, we just did that one. ESS figures by region. Hey, this is a good one, probably. So we have, oh, this is just thefts. Boo. So we have 1 trillion ISK stolen from banks in Delve. Sell orders are stuck in the market, being undercut nonstop. Buy orders are not being consumed, and buy orders are piling up. For which? Oh, for which? For the low end? Well, again, so this is a good indicator. As we're starting to see more and more newer players replacing some of the experienced multi-boxing power players, we see a lot of people mining lower end minerals. I'm probably willing to sell it for less, let's be frank. True souls. Hey, what's up, Malak? Yeah, Malak and I have definitely spent a few hours in Baldur's Gate. Let's see. Let's look at this. I want to look at, yeah, the bank thefts are way up in Delve. But again, the ratting is also up in Delve. The payouts are also up in Delve. And Fountain is, Fountain is down by, or up by double. And I honestly don't pay attention to main banks because that's such a weird world. Or reserve banks. Yeah, I don't pay attention to reserve banks. Yeah, look at all that. That's all goons robbery. I suspect, given the fact that these are main bank heists, that these are not goons robbing themselves. Yeah, you just take a filament, go to goons space, and rob a ESS. I just joined Karma Fleet a week ago. or 3 weeks ago. I swear it has nothing. This has nothing to do with it. Oh, we now have a correspondence. Okay. Fair enough. And then largest reserve bank thefts, whatever, mostly in goon space. That could very well be. I know they have. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Holy shit. I'm sorry. So I know, like, the reserve bank has always been kind of like a weird thing, and I'm not sure what CCP's total goals were for the largest for the reserve bank stuff, but the dark ones here represent people milking it, i.e., them using a key to unlock their own area's gates or reserve banks in order to pull the money out. Whereas the brighter ones are the bank robberies. Yeah, I'll explain that in a second. So what happens is when people rat in nullsec, a certain amount of it, a certain percentage of it, goes into the main bank, and then after every 3 hours, the main bank pays it out. So if you get to the end of the 3 hours, you get the full amount. That's all you can possibly get for ratting. Okay. However, there is an additional amount of ISK that is generated as you do this that is you never see, and it goes into the reserve bank. So the reserve bank just slowly builds up over time, right? It never pays out to anybody. The only way to get it is that there are special keys in lowsec. There are these particular lowsec sites. So it's one of the more dangerous areas of space, least secure areas of space. And it takes marauders and black ops and stuff to run these sites in order to get these reserve bank keys. And then you can use the key in the correct quadrant of space that key belongs to. So what ended up happening is we have a lot of people, or we have not a lot of people, we have some people that go out and farm these keys, and then they sell them to the null block who owns that area of space. And then they go and they use the key to pull the money out of the reserve bank, right? Because they know how much they're going to pull out. So they know like what their margins are going to be if they pay, a certain amount to the person who farms the key. So that's why we see the vast majority of reserve bank thefts are milking. Also, when you do a reserve bank theft, it notifies the entire region. So robbing a reserve bank is extraordinarily risky. But milking a reserve bank, I mean, it's your territory. Three TCs. Yeah, I think they can. Strategic cruisers can do it. Maybe. At least some of them. Wormhole stuff. Did we look at blue loot? Where was blue loot? Blue loot is a little bit down, but wormhole gas mining is up. I wonder if that's because people are not running the sites as much and instead are mining the gas more. Having to build dreads would explain why you would do more ore mining than moon mining. I mean, I know that even the Tech 2 dreads require Tech 2 parts, but they still also require a ton of minerals. And also you need just Tech 1 dreads and Navy dreads, which Navy dreads does take gas. I know that. Well, they all take some gas. Wormhole net trade summary. See what that looks like last year or last month, just for comparison. Yeah, C5s are pretty. I mean, C5s are by far the most lucrative. That's the one that people run for money. So we see boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So not too much is changing in wormhole space, it looks like. Only reliable way I've seen is 2 hackers tunes and 1 Varger triple box. That's a whole other world. I have not delved too much into that yet. Largest battle in the Caldari state versus Gallente faction warfare. That Hadley's? Is Hadley's? No, because it's a Caldari controlled system. I don't know. I know that the war zone has been very active. Largest battle by solar system. You can see the conflict in the north. And that's it. That's the MER. So it looks like things are going pretty good. We made it through the summer. And I think that the biggest thing is that, like, the fact that there was no summer slump is a pretty big thing, honestly. Like, I know that that sounds like cope or whatever, but if you look at it, like, May. So look at May and September last year, right? So last year, the May to September line goes strictly down. This year, the May to September line goes up. That's, I mean, I don't know if that means that before that it was lower, and so it only had up to go, maybe. You set your standards on the rock bottom, then you can only go up, right? But yeah, that's about all for the MER for today. Thank you guys. If you're watching this live, keep on hanging out. But if you are watching this as a pre-recorded thing, edited, you know, all that stuff, I want to say thank you for checking this out. Like it, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, I'll see you in space.